A growing number of African and Middle Eastern migrants are entering EU member Lithuania illegally from neighboring Belarus. Observers say Belarus's authoritarian leader Alexandra Lukashenko is encouraging the migrants in response to European Union sanctions on his country. Lithuania says it is finding it hard to cope with the influx. DW's Alexandra from Nahmen travelled to its border with Belarus, where she saw the problems the border guards are facing.
A ride along the Lithuanian border with Belarus. Only a small part of the 700-kilometer-long frontier is protected by a fence like this. Border guards Vytautas and Justas have just started their shift. They say their job has become much harder recently.
A group of illegal immigration was crossed at this place.
How many people?
Three people was here.
And they just jump over the fence?
Yeah, jumps over the fence. One jacket was on the fence.
For months now, Lithuania has been grappling with an unexpected influx of migrants. Most of them are from Iraq or Central Africa. They cross the border from neighboring Belarus, a country ruled for decades by Europe's last dictator, Alexander Lukashenko. Vytautas and Justas say their Belarusian counterparts seem to be doing nothing to stop the migrants from crossing the border.
They are mostly ignoring us. Earlier, we have a really good relationship with them. We always share the common information, what we saw, what we heard about. They're coming to us, just communicate to see what we can do as border guards. Now they're just ignoring us.
At some sections of the border, only a simple farm fence or no fence at all separates the two countries. Lithuanian authorities are planning to invest 41 million euro in a new barrier. But for now, they seem overwhelmed by the situation. Because of a growing number of illegal border crossings, Lithuania has declared a state of emergency. The government has accused Lukashenko of using migrants as a weapon, of trying to seek to harm the European Union in response to sanctions. At this nearby surveillance center, they monitor the border with the help of infrared cameras and movement detectors. Just a day before, a group of 6 people crossed the border here. The images show a man, presumably a Belarusian border guard, giving the group some signals. A refugee camp in the town of Rukla. Some of the new arrivals have been placed here. The pattern seems to be the same. They buy a plane ticket to the Belarusian capital, spend a few nights there, and then make their way to the border. Hardly anyone wants to talk on camera. This man says he crossed into Lithuania with 25 more people.
With us, there were guys from Belarus. They told us, "There's Lithuania, run."
And did they have uniforms on?
I don't know, no, just plain clothes. I didn't see their faces.
The situation has put the Lithuanian government in a tough spot. Facing a growing anti-migrant mood in the country, they are calling on the EU for more assistance.
Of course, it is not our wish to allow them to travel further west, because their goal is Germany primarily. But you know, if it is higher than 5,000, we will not be able we will not have places to keep them. We will have to let them go.
It's late at night at the border. Vytautas and Justas spread out after hearing a noise and spotting a hole in the fence. But this time there is no movement. A good night for the 2 border guards.
For more on this, I'm now joined by DW's Eastern Europe correspondent Nick Connolly in Kiev, who's been following this story closely and has also been on the ground there in Belarus. Nick, it looks like Lukashenko is using refugees there as a political weapon. What is he trying to achieve?
Well, Gerhard, this is about eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. This is retribution, essentially, to the EU that has slapped him with new and stronger sanctions in recent months. Basically, a year after those rigged elections in Belarus, the EU basically was not able to pass much more than personal sanctions against members of the regime and business people close to the regime. Now, after that spectacular, essentially hostage-taking, that Ryanair plane that was flying from Greece to Lithuania and that was downed in Minsk and Belarusian opposition journalist taken off board and arrested. The EU has put economic sanctions on Belarus, and this is essentially a very cheap way for Alexander Lukashenko to create problems for the EU as a whole. The EU has been struggling with the issue of migration on the one hand, wanting to seem to be open and humane and to offer people protection, on the other hand being increasing political internal problems in member states along those outside borders of the bloc. Populations worried about increasing numbers of migrants, and especially towards Lithuania. Lithuania is the country that hosts Belarus's opposition leader in exile, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. So this is a very easy way for him to create problems for his European neighbours who don't seem to want to play ball with him after that rigged election last year.
So it seems like a bit of a conundrum that you're describing there. What can the EU do then?
It's very unclear what the options are. They all seem to be pretty bad. Caving in and essentially going back to business as usual with Alexander Lukashenko, that doesn't seem to be an option, especially given the mocking and the basic constant attacks that he makes publicly against the EU, basically saying it's a paper tiger, toothless organisation that's able to basically produce press releases about human rights, but not really to play tough and to do realpolitik, as it were. So basically, making a deal with him to stop that flow of migrants isn't on the table, isn't an option that is really palatable. On the other hand, building the wall, that's the plan now in Lithuania, that really doesn't look good. I mean, the optics are terrible. I mean, the EU makes a great deal of its openness to people who need protection, and yet building a wall, I mean, the parallels have been drawn with the US southern border with Mexico. That is really something that doesn't look good internationally, but also in Belarus. I mean, the EU has been trying to tell Belarusians that it's open and it provides protection also to people fleeing Alexander Lukashenko's regime in Minsk. So building that wall is something that isn't going to look good. And for now, I think it's going to be an issue of bringing more of those Frontex European border guards to that frontier to try and keep some kind of control over the situation. But there is no easy answer to this problem. And really, Alexander Lukashenko has found a real a painful spot for the EU here, and something that he can achieve a lot of political pressure with very little means.
DW's Eastern Europe correspondent Nick Connolly in Kiev. Thank you very much, Nick.